and I'm gonna try to flip that light on.
Okay.
For some reason that light is not working. It's weird. Oh my God, there it goes. That's the weird shit.
The light is not working. We are.
It wasn't working. Did you see how much more brighter it is now?
No, dude, I'm actually looking at the computer screen or whatever now. So, but
like,
no, oh yeah, it is a lot brighter. So,
yeah, as soon as I said that, the light was like, "Fuck you, ding!" I was like, "What the hell?"
Of course, we're starting our pre-show right here on Facebook Live. We're going to start a little bit early. We haven't really done kind of like a long, pre-show in a long time.
Yeah.
We were already connected on Zoom, so we were like, "Fuck it, let's just go ahead
and start." Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, momentarily at 7:00. Of course, at 7:00, and I was messing around with this earlier. I'm going to try this now and see if this works. But of course, at 7:00, we're going to be joined by Scott Page right here on Facebook Live. Saxophonist for Pink Floyd, Supertramp, Toto. It's going to be an honor talking to him. It's going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun. So, of course, you see this during my share screen. So, yeah, definitely, that's going to be, really fun talking to Scott. And I mean, of course, we're here in Maryland. In Maryland, it was funny. Like last weekend, we did our episode with Ray. And that whole weekend, it was like 60 fucking degrees outside.
And yeah, right. And then it fucking just.
Monday it snowed its ass off. In Washington D.C., I think got like 6 to 8 inches, and I'm at work, so my boss sent me to D.C. and I'm just kind of like, dude, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, we have delivery there. I'm like, all right, whatever. I got my work truck stuck like 6 times. Jeez. And like I think like my body went into the whole sense of shock, because in Maryland it's like I get bad seasonal allergies. So in Maryland, it's that whole thing of, okay, well, it's warm, then it's cold. Well, it's warm, then it's cold, so on and so forth. That Monday, I just felt like ass. I felt like dog shit all day Monday. And I came back, I was out all day, battling the snow and all that. And, I went to work and I'm like, hey, I feel like shit. And then my boss went home, and apparently my boss, we heard he wasn't feeling good. So I told my boss, I'm like, hey, just to be safe, if I'm not feeling too hot, like, I mean, I kind of somewhat had COVID symptoms, but it wasn't full out. Like I had a bad running nose. Like my nose was running so bad, it was like a faucet running into my mouth. And, especially when you're wearing a mask, like that shit just runs down the mask into your mouth and you're like swallowing it down. And you're just kind of like, well, now I know what the porn stars feel like in their movies, because you're swallowing snot. And it's just the whole it's just the whole thing of, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not feeling too, I didn't have a fever, I didn't have body aches, I didn't have anything else. So I was like, all right, whatever, just to be safe. And then I found out on Tuesday my boss tested positive. So I'm like, well, fuck.
Wow.
So I went out and I bought 2 of those at home tests. And what a fucking, and normally we don't talk about politics and we're not, but I'm just going to say this, those fucking tests are a sham. Like they're a ripoff like crazy. I went in and fucking bought 2 of those tests. My wife was like, get an extra one just in case. $25 a piece. $50 fucking for a little fucking piece of plastic like this fucking big, a little bit of solution, and a fucking Q-tip. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, all right, well, this, yeah.
So did you have to shove it up your nose?
Yeah, I had to shove it up my own nose.
Oh, your own nose. You guys didn't. See, I couldn't. I don't think I'd be able to shove it up my own nose.
Oh, dude. So I'd
have to get somebody to do it for me.
Well, it had instructions, and the instructions are hard as fuck to follow anyways. So I sit there and I follow the instructions. So you sit there, you need to shove it up your nose, twist it around like about 5 times. Like you're going up to like almost your brain with it. So you do that. And the thing is you shove the thing up there. My nose was already stuffed up as it was. So like my nose is just fauceting out. Like just running down my face as I'm doing this. Then I said, take it out, shove it up the other nostril. So now I'm shoving that snot from one nostril up the other nostril and then spinning around 5 times. And then it said, take it out, put it into the solution, swoosh it around in the solution, squeeze the tip, spin it 5 times, and then take it out. And then once you take it out, you throw the Q-tip away, and then you take the solution and you squeeze it into this little applicator. It looks like a pregnancy test. And I'm like, so do I put the solution on this or do I piss on this? Like, I don't. So
you got to stick it in your pee hole.
Yeah. It's like, do I shove this thing up my nostril as well, or do I shove it up my ass? Like, I don't I don't understand what's going on with this thing. So I dripped the salt on it, and it pretty much had two things when it had a C and a T. And it said if it was a C, you were negative. If the T showed up in any way, shape, or form, light, dark, whatever, you would be positive. But it said if it's just a T, you fucked up. So it's like, well, that's nice to know, especially knowing these are so fucking expensive. So it was just to say I was positive, and then like I went back to work the next day. I started feeling a little bit better, but it's just kind of like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like,
well, I think it affects people different ways, whether you had COVID or not. Well, like you said, the big problem with it being politicized so much, you know, you're just, if you're sick, really and truly, like, and you are that sick, whether you have COVID or you should stay home anyway.
Yeah, just stay home. I mean, fuck, like,
just stay home.
Just stay home.
So,
stay home. That's it. Like, but no, like, dude, also like with the snow too, in Kentucky and in fucking Virginia on 95, they had that fucking traffic jam.
I heard about it. Yes.
Watching at home, heard about the traffic jam, but that shit was severe. Like there were people trapped in their cars for like fucking 21 hours and shit. I mean, dude, hour one, I'm done. Like hour one, like my attention span is so fucking short that hour one, I'm like snapping my own neck in the car. Like that's what's gonna happen.
Right. I heard an Uber driver actually was charged like $400 or some shit like that.
Oh yeah, he charged like the dude like
about that. Yeah. Something crazy. They Uber I think ultimately like refunded some of his money. But yeah, that would suck. That be stuck in the Uber. Like you guys are both just chilling in the car, like you're complete strangers, and you're just like, so
yeah. So
yes, weather, man. You
want me to crawl up in the front seat, then suck your dick?
Keep each other warm.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get to know each other for a little bit. But I mean, no, dude, like that, like seriously, the first hour I would have been tapped out. I would have already killed the battery on my phone by watching over and over again, watching TikTok, watching porn, whatever. I would have just completely done hour one. And then it's like, with this, they're like, oh, well, you should keep emergency supplies in your car. Do you know how many emergency supplies I have in my car? How many emergency supplies I've always had in my car? Zero. None. Really? Never. I have jumper. That's it. Like
I'm a weirdo. So, I mean, I'm just kind of like a paranoid guy. So I actually do emergency equipment in there. Like I have a first aid and all that shit too. I'm weird. I've got bottles of water.
Yeah.
Like, I take it pretty serious. Like you never know. You never
know. I don't have any of that shit. Like like me, I do the flipping and all that. So there's always boxes around, like in my basement, like the unfinished part. There's all the boxes I have, the ship stuff. Like I always have boxes in my car because my wife gets mad and yells at me and goes, "You have too many goddamn boxes in here." And so I like hoard them in my car. So I guess, what I could do is I could probably just put all those boxes on top of me and kind of use them as warmth if I needed to. But then they said, what was it? Schmidt Baking Company. Of course, shout out to Schmidt. They're a part of H&S Baking Company right here in Baltimore. But they said that apparently what happened is that someone called the owner, and the owner was like, fuck it, open the truck and give them bread. But I mean, that's another thing that I come up to is I can't, if someone hands me a loaf of fucking Schmidt bread, I wouldn't be able to eat it. Like you need to give me like butter or jelly too. Like, I mean, there's got to be something else in that truck that I can put onto this. Like, I don't care if the driver gives me some of his like lunch and I just smear it on top of that bread. Like eating just plain bread, unless it's like Texas Roadhouse bread or like garlic,
Oh yeah. I mean, I can eat plain bread. I'd be able to survive. I've survived off of less. But, yeah, but it's funny. I know you were talking about like because your symptoms and stuff. I want to just get back with that for a second, and because you mentioned you'd have allergies.
Oh yeah, dude, my allergies.
The funny thing is, since my daughter, she has allergies pretty bad. And she actually goes to a respiratory like doctor every so often. So the thing is, allergies, you would think they're really bad during, the spring and this and that, but it's actually not true. It's actually pretty bad also during winter months.
Really?
Yeah, they actually say it's even worse sometimes. Like the tree dandruff or tree dander or whatever.
Yeah.
That's bad during the winter months.
Well,
And
it's funny because the snow
allergies to
and
like and shit, it can be pretty bad.
well, it's funny because normally they say snow clears the air. So, you would think that when it snowed, anything that you kind of have, like, it clears the air of that, it definitely didn't clear it of COVID, which would have been nice. But, the whole thing is, everybody's always said the old school thing of, snow clears the air. But, dude, when I was in DC, I don't know if DC has an issue with state highway employees or what, but the whole fucking thing is I didn't see the plow the entire time I was there. Like
Really?
you're
That's
fucking
well.
like this fucking high, dude, like off the fucking ground. Like, and I'm just blowing through snow billows in my fucking work truck, like getting it stuck, almost blowing out the transmission and all that shit. Like I went to the Kennedy Center, so I had to deliver to the Kennedy Center. So I got over to there, and I was just once it was done, I was like, let me get the fuck out of here. And I don't know what it is. Like the last couple of years, just in general, especially here in Maryland, they wait until the snow is fell and landed before they plow. It's like, no, start plowing that shit like as soon as it fucking starts, because then the roads won't get too bad. So, but
Yeah, I don't know. I could not answer that question for you. Because I saw snow plows. Like, what was it? Because again, it snowed what Friday, like Thursday night into Friday morning.
Yeah,
no, we freaking Maryland. We go from 60-degree weather in January, and then we're just hit with these freaking snowstorms out of like nowhere. The temperature drops to like 20 degrees. It's almost like it's freaking magic.
Yeah.
No, and you're like,
welcome to hell, bitch.
What the hell happened?
But no, so anyways, like back to the whole being stuck on the highway thing. So, all right, so you're stuck in your car. At what point do you sit there and go, oh fuck, I'm gonna be here forever? Because I'm sure there were people blowing horns, there were people probably just going, okay, this is gonna be over in a half an hour. And then the next thing you know, 20 hours, 24 hours later, you're naked in your car, you're crying, you've already fucked a loaf of bread like 15 times already. Like you just kind of don't know what to do, at that point.
That's why you need the butter, isn't it? I knew it.
But
I'll fuck that loaf dry, baby.
I mean, you look at it like this, like if you don't have anything comfortable in your car, like you said, you have stuff. Like me, it's like they give me the bread. It's like, okay, I'm fat. I got a lot of, meat on me. So if I don't eat, I'll be fine. I'm using that shit as a pillow. Like fucking put that behind your fucking head. That shit is a fucking pillow. So, wake up, take a bite, put it back in there and go back to sleep.
You're eating your rations, pillow rations.
Yeah. You sit there, you're passed out in your car, your arms just slung over. You have a piece of bread in your hand. It looks like you're passed out drunk in your car, but the whole thing you're just waiting for. I mean, like, if that's me, like if I was in my work truck, like I have blankets and stuff in my work truck. So I would have just been like, I would have went back, grabbed some of those blankets, wrapped myself up, and I would have put a note on my car, wake me up when it's over. And then that way someone could have just knocked on my window or whatever. Or I would have heard horns blowing or whatever and just woke up.
Yeah. Well, yes, people would actually just blow the horn at you. I don't my faith in humanity of people actually waking you up. Yeah, it would just like move you to the side of the road. They would like and just plow you to the side of the road.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't think you were here for it, but on one of the War Pigs episodes, me and Blood were talking about a story. We were coming back from Hagerstown, and there was a really bad ice storm that happened while we were at the show. And we're driving back. We're on 70. We're coming back from Hagerstown. And so we're looking and we see all these headlights in the woods. And we're like, what the fuck? What's going on? There's black ice all over the highway, just fucking black ice. So we're like, what the fuck's happening? Like, why is there like 10 cars in the woods on each side? We hit the black ice and we 360 like fucking 4 times. And then we stop and there's a traffic jam. And, we're sitting there and people were like, hey, this might be a couple of hours or like 2, like dump trucks that like flipped over or whatever. And like Blood, of course we're drunk. We just left the strip club. So Blood's like, well, screw it. We're going to sleep. So Blood like left the car running and we went to sleep. And like, I think it was like 6 hours later.
Isn't that like one of the worst things they say not to do?
Oh yeah.
car running and then go to sleep because you may never wake back up.
So we woke up.
Idea, guys.
Yeah, Pop was banging on the window with his flashlight. He's like, "Hey, traffic jam's over." We're like, "Oh, all right, boom, see you later." There was an old fellow that was living in his car outside the Weiss up near my house, and every time me and my wife would go to the grocery store, we would see him in his car. He was living in his car. All that. I told my wife, I was like, "Oh, I feel so bad for him." Like, right around the time that I was gonna get some food together and some clothes together for him or whatever, and all that to take up there. We stopped seeing him. I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, where'd the guy go? And eventually I asked someone at Weiss, I'm like, hey, what happened to the old dude that was in the car? Like, he died in his car, like apparently, like from him running it.
The carbon monoxide. Yeah,
the carbon monoxide got in the car.
It will kill you.
It was him and his cat, and they found him and his cat dead in the car. I'm just kind of like,
thanks for the sad fucking story. Jesus.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, at that point, it's like, carbon monoxide's in there or whatever. Like, if the dude died first, like at that point, does the cat just kind of look at him and just kind of go, hey, I'm going to eat this dude's eyeballs before I die. Like, that's like imagine like you're sitting there, you're in your car and it's running, and you're in traffic. Like, do you try to eat the entire loaf of bread before, the carbon monoxide gets you? It's like, and the whole thing, it starts messing with you psychologically. It's like, if you just open your windows or get out of your car, it's like, no, at that point, it's like, you're so high psychologically off of dealing with that kind of shit. You're just kind of like, I need to eat all this bread now. And I don't know what to, and you just eat all, like, you take the last bite of the bread and you just flatline.
Well, I'm not sure, totally sure if the carbon monoxide makes you start to like hallucinate.
Yeah,
orient you in that manner, but I know it'll make you start to feel tired.
Oh yeah.
Eventually, you'll just be like, and then just conk out, and you'll still be alive for like a couple minutes, but then ultimately,
the engine will stop running. And of course, it's 6:35. Of course, we're right here live on Facebook. We started our pre-show a little bit early, so of course, if anybody joins us live, feel free to comment in the live stream right here on Facebook Live. Of course, it's going to air on every major podcast platform, and it will be on YouTube tomorrow. And of course, in a little less than a half an hour, we will be joined by a very special guest, Scott Page. So Scott Page, Pink Floyd, Supertramp, Toto. He also has his own company, so make sure you check out our episode with Scott Page. That's going to be coming up momentarily once he comes through. And also Jerry Hula from the Sheriff Pipe podcast, he joined us for our episode with Jimmy Starr. He will also be joining us as well, so make sure you come join us for that. That's going to be amazing. And what we're going to do is we're going to get right into it. We're going to get into an Urban Dictionary term of the day, and I was looking this up and I was laughing my ass off as I was reading it. Of course, Scott Page, he's the saxophonist for Pink Floyd, Supertramp, all the bands he's been associated with. So I looked up saxophone on Urban Dictionary, and I got two amazing definitions for saxophone. So I'm going to go through them. They're a little long, but hey, you guys are going to bear with us. And this is, so the saxophone definition number one is the most badass instrument ever. This instrument was and still is the source of God's powers and originated as a physical preservation for a hyper-advanced alien race's utopian society, but was later discovered to have badass musical and practical properties. For example, a sax can be used as the ultimate chick magnet, opening beer bottles and for killing that really annoying neighbor. It's also the only object known to mankind that duct tape cannot fix, for it will be incinerated by the sheer raw energy coursing through it and into the player, or should I say, the wielder of it. You can also leave the discovery of fire thanks to this wonderful instrument. Back in the cave ages, saxes were held up into a storm to be struck by lightning, setting the surroundings ablaze, including the wielder. And the ancients acquired their precious saxes from the now extinct saxophone tree, but are now made of the monumental forge of Hephaestus himself. So that is definition number one on Urban Dictionary for saxophone. Definition number two.
Wow.
The saxophone is the raper of all instruments, usually played by some sexy guy, or if the situation permits, a sexy girl. The saxophone is the result of Thor taking a little gay clarinet, and Zeus taking a queerish French horn and having a mad fight to the death. The result was two dead gods and a musical instrument to replace them. The leader of the saxophone family is, of course, Altho, which is the only saxophone good enough to be frequently used as a hand-to-hand combat weapon in World War I, and later to be fired as heavy artillery ammunition in World War II. So I don't know what drugs these people were on when they created these definitions, but that's your dictionary term of the day for saxophone.
Right. Well, Facebook is probably going to flag us now for conspiracy theory, but because that was the most bogus shit I've ever heard. I agree that the saxophone is a pretty sexy instrument. Yes. And it has been told that it is one of the I guess what you would call like a sexual icon of what was it, like the 60s or the 70s, or like when was jazz really popular? I'm not that smart, so I don't know. But
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I've never been skilled enough to play an instrument. And of course, I'm going to wait until we're actually talking to Scott. And once we're on a regular audio episode, bring up, I was going to talk about, but, I had never had, the ability of being able to play an instrument. Like, that's why I wrestle. Like, I don't fucking have a lot of skills and stuff. Like, I'm also just some jabroni that sits in front of a microphone and talks to cool people. Like, that's the thing. My skill set with certain stuff is very minimal. Like, I mean, Matt, you used to work at a place where you would fucking, work on cars. I can't do that shit. Like, I'd sit there and be like, I don't know, I'm taking it to the shop. Like, whatever. Like, but I mean, that's the thing. It's like, just seeing the whole thing of two gods warring together, and then they were later used as ammunition,
right?
In World War II or whatever. But
I played the trumpet when I was younger. Like,
really?
When I was a young child.
Why didn't you why'd you give that up? Like, were you eventually just kind of like, I can't do this?
No, I just didn't feel like doing it anymore. I was like maybe 12 years or so. I was like, yeah, I don't like doing it.
Have you ever sat there and got drunk and thought to yourself, man, one day I'm just gonna open up and who knows, right behind your storm shutters, you could open up your storm shutters in your basement and just pull a trumpet right out of there and just
No, the only thing in my storm shutters is my water heater.
Yeah. So. Of course, shout out to Tom Nutty, who that was his joke last week. He's right. Like, what is storm shutter? Yeah,
fucking snowstorm and shit.
We're just sitting there, we're doing a podcast, and it just starts fucking storming inside your house, and the storm shutters are just blowing up, and
that would be actually pretty badass.
Open and close, and you're just sitting there trying to fight them closed, and like Scott Page is sitting there looking like, what is happening right now? Like,
well, those are not the drugs that I prefer to do. You're not going to see hallucinations, but no, I just stopped playing with the trumpet when I was young and just didn't really. I mean, I wish I would have fucking kept with something like that, because my generation growing up being one of the band kids, it's not as cool as it would be like probably now.
Yeah.
So. I wouldn't say that's really. I didn't get bullied or anything for it. I just didn't feel like really doing it.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, even if you did get bullied for it, it's like, and then you kick the person's ass. Like, imagine that. Like they
beat them over the head with a trumpet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It ends up kind of like what was it? American Pie 2 or whatever it was, or was it America when she sticks the trumpet in the dude's ass or whatever? It's like, yeah, make fun of me now. Next thing you know, you catch him in the bathroom and you just shove a trumpet in his ass, and it's just kind of like, okay, you have to do some thorough cleaning or whatever with it beforehand, but that's just the risk that they take of making fun of the trumpet player. So
right. But yeah.
So, but oh man. So as I said, of course, coming up next week, we will have a fellow Laugh-Finder podcast. Of course, everybody knows Eric Woodworth and Tommy Simbazo and Ashley Pontius. They're all associated with the Laugh-Finder podcast. Brian Preston, he's another comedian. He will be joining us as well. He has a book he just wrote. He's going to be promoting that. And our featured guest is going to be adult film star Alexis Amore. So make sure you tune in for that. And then the following, we
So it's going to be the whole Laugh Finder crew.
No, it's not going to be the whole Laugh Finder crew. Brian,
Okay.
he does the Laugh Finder stuff with them, and
Okay. Right.
so he'll be joining us next week right here on the show and co-hosting with us and all that fun stuff. So
Right.
Tommy's brought him before, so it should be pretty fun. Gonna welcome,
like fun, especially when you have Alexis Moore on there. She's pretty popular. She's been around for quite a bit of time. I remember like watching her videos when I was just a young lad. So
well, I mean, that's the thing. She's in the AVN Hall of Fame. So I mean, that's a cool thing, and I even told, Brian, I was like, hey, that'd be, a cool episode to come on to, because all of our Adult Film Star episodes are their views on YouTube are unreal. So, it would be a nice little, rub for him and for his book, to come on to that one. But yeah, I mean, dude, like, I'm gonna ask her. There was a scene that she did. I remember it. It's one of the scenes I remember.
One of those scenes that like made you turn into a man, like when you're
it's funny because
coming of age.
the coming of age. But no, it's funny because like the scene was, and we talk about it a lot. She was wearing a VR headset. I like the dude ended up like convincing her to have sex with him through the VR headset. And I'm just kind of like, that's almost like reverse of like where porn is now. Like porn, it's like we wear the VR headset and watch whatever. Like instead, she was wearing it. And I think it was one of her like early scenes or whatever. And I remember it. Like I have always remembered it. And then like when she was like, yeah, I'll do the show, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I mean, dude, it's just unreal. We had Sarah J. We've had Lauren Phillips, Karen Fisher, we've had
we've had quite the cast of
it's funny because Erica Icon, shout out to her, she's at X3 right now. Remember, Ray said X3 was going on, so X3 is happening right now in California.
That's right.
Yeah, and they released the nominees for a lot of, I think it was Best MILF for the AVN Awards. And I'm sitting there scrolling through, and you see Lauren Phillips, you see Karen Fisher, you see Sarah J, you see Corey Chase, you see all these girls that we had on the show. And like I even commented on Twitter, I was like, hey, we've had a lot of them on the show. And so that it's fun. And of course, January 29th, I can't leave this out. We're going to be live at the Marsky Bar for the first ever happy hour podcast roundtable. That is going to be open to the public. Make sure you come and check it out. It's going to be myself, Chad Austin, Bob Starr, Ruckus, and we're going to be there. We're going to be kicking it, 100% uncensored. We're going to be talking about our wrestling careers, wrestling in general, and, all kinds of crazy stories. It's going to be nothing. It's going to be about just pro wrestling. And afterwards, if anybody comes out, we're going to have ourselves a little bit of an open forum in case you want to ask any of the guys any questions or anything like that. And I think what we're going to do is with the round tables, when we do them, I'm not sure if it's going to be monthly or bi-monthly yet. At the end, even if we do it via Zoom, and people want to have questions, we can have people submit early. And then what we can do is bring the people in via Zoom, like just admit you into the room. You can ask your question, and then, we'll just promptly kick your ass out of the room after you ask your question. So, but yeah, like a lot of stuff going on. And of course, this is our original happy hour podcast, breast cancer awareness t-shirt. Make sure you head over to www.thehhpod.com. and buy some of our merchandise. I mean, come on.
Buy some of that shit. We got some really cool designs on there.
Oh, yeah. Of course, shout out to Steve Friedman. He does a lot of our, logo work. He did that amazing Halloween logo that we have. I have a fun one that I'm thinking of for actually our 2-year anniversary, and episode 100 will fall in the same episode. So I already kind of have my gears turning. It's probably going to be via Zoom, but it's going to be kind of a lot of people coming through at one time for that. So it's going to kind of be like an orgy of guests, pretty much.
Orgy. I love that. Orgy of guests.
So, and I'm already thinking of a fun image, for that to incorporate everybody. Of course, I wouldn't want to have Tommy, Eric, Ashley Pontius will be, for that too, if they're available, maybe Justin, some of our former porn guests, Vincent, Bubba, just all kinds of cool people, and we're all just kind of at one time, just boom, having a good time in that big, blowout 100 episode that, we will have roughly around June. It might be early to late June. I'm not sure. It depends. This is episode 83 that we're getting ready to enter into in a couple of minutes.
It sounds a lot like an orgy. Sound like fun. Orgies would be fun. So yeah, sounds fun.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, this is what it's going to be. It's going to be, the orgy or whatever and all that. So here's what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go ahead and throw up the share screen for this logo. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute us. We're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we will be back momentarily to finish our pre-show, and we will be getting ready to go live with Jerry Hula and Scott Page from Pink Floyd and Toto, and we'll be right back in 1 minute.
There we go.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. We just stepped out, us starting early, and of course, Scott Page is in the room, so we're going to go ahead and admit him in and welcome him onto the pre-show, and then once Jerry will be coming through as well momentarily. So,
yo,
What's up?
What's up, man?
what up?
Not too much.
Let me see I need my camera. It doesn't look like it's on. Hold on.
You're fine.
There we go.
What's up, man? How are you?
Dude, I'm fine. I'm in a wacky big freaking suite in Las Vegas for this.
Really?
It was this convention. Yeah, it was really interesting. One of the companies that I work with, they had this giant suite, and they said, "Oh, we don't need this, so you can stay in here." It just goes on forever, man. It's like massive. It's like crazy.
We're on our pre-show right now, so this
There
is
you go, pre-show.
an exclusive anyway. So yeah, oh man, dude, you've already taken a lot of steps, and you're still going.
You're still walking.
Look at the hallway here. Look at the hallway. This is the hallway coming into the place.
Holy
Wow.
shit!
Oh yeah, and then you could go in here. There's rooms down here. It's like massive. This thing.
Jeez.
It's crazy, right?
So how long are you staying in the suite?
I'm going back today. I got to go back today.
I was about to say, shit, you could probably sleep in a different room each night.
Just about. Crazy. I got this crazy ass view. So actually, when I want to be on, I'm actually in Paris right now. You can see here, right?
Wow.
Nice.
It's awesome.
Pretty.
That's good stuff, man.
Right. So anyway, here we are, boys. I'm ready to podcast it up with you all.
Nice.
Of course, we'll be starting the actual regular episode. We had everything. We always start early. We did a little bit of a pre-show. We actually started at 6:15. We were just bullshitting a little bit on Facebook Live. Of course, we're here live on Facebook Live. 7:00. We'll start the actual audio version of our show, and our other co-host Jerry from the Share Pipe Podcast. He'll be joining us as well. Man, how's everything been? Of course, you're a very well-traveled musician. How's everything been with, COVID? Everything's just so crazy. Like, shows are starting to get back up, and now things are starting to shut back down. It's just fucking insanity.
No, it's insane. Actually for me, it was like, I remember when the COVID thing hit, we had gigs, we had Europe being booked, and we've been doing these 360 dome shows in Los Angeles. We did like 40 of those before. We were all ready to get rocking and everything. And then we got the call and everything got shut down. And so I remember getting up that morning, and when everything got shut down, I said, drinking coffee. I said, well, nothing's really changed. I'm still sitting in my house. All those other gigs were just illusions. They weren't there. I couldn't do it. So I just basically pivoted. And then I really started focusing in this NFT space. And so that's the area I'm like it's the most exciting place I've been in a long time. I haven't felt like this in years. It's an amazing community, an amazing opportunity. So I've been just building out my business in this space. That's why I'm in Vegas right now. We just did a big they're called Nifty Agenda. And we've been working on all kinds of stuff. So yeah, no, I'm excited. There's a lot so for me, what was interesting, when I pivoted and I kind of did everything, I had a great year, right? Because I just basically saw new opportunities and went for them. But on the playing side, we got hit pretty hard like everybody. There was very few gigs, I think, in the entire, year or whatever. We did like two or three gigs, and that was about it. And those were brave people that wanted to have something, and no matter what. But this whole thing they're doing to us right now is insane. This is totally, this is now, I hope the people are waking up to what's happening, because it's becoming very obvious what's going on here right now. And I think need to know.
And of course, Jerry, what's up, man? How you doing? Haven't seen you in a little bit. Hope everything's good with you.
I'm hanging in there. You guys jumped in a little early. Welcome, Scott. I didn't mean to join late.
Oh, no.
I didn't know. I saw that thing said 3:30, and then I was still on the call. So I had Eileen call you and say, hey, I'm going to be on in about 10 minutes. So I'm early. We're all good, right?
Oh, no, it's fine. We always just do a pre-show just to bullshit around, Jerry. We started doing a pre-show probably about a couple months ago, just to kind of, it gets everybody kind of on Facebook in case anybody wants to hop in on the live stream and all that, gets them, gets their juices flowing and all that fun stuff. But I was telling Matt on our pre-show a little bit, I had some of the COVID symptoms, and I went out and got one of the home tests, and those things, they're $25 a piece. I was just kind of are you fucking kidding me? I was like, can I use my insurance for this? They're like, no. And I'm just kind of like, what? Like, what the fuck? Like, you guys are giving us tests for free on the streets, but I have to pay for this. And then, I don't know if you guys have done any in-home tests, but my wife's job doesn't even take them. And I'm sitting there and I'm digging through all this stuff. And I pay $25 for a Q-tip solution and a little applicator. It looks like a pregnancy test applicator. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, do I shove this thing on my nose? Do I piss on this thing? Does it tell me if I'm pregnant? Like, I don't know what is all this in front of me? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, no, dude. And then we also know now that the tests don't work.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even
I've heard that too.
CDC just came out and said that they don't work. So we got conned.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We're big conned. I mean, that's the bottom line. This makes no sense. And none of these tests work. So how do we know who had COVID and didn't? I went through COVID too. And, basically got out my ivermectin, my vitamin D, my zinc, just did the protocol, the Dr. Zelenko's protocol. 2 days later, things started to turn around. I felt great. And so you wonder why they held that information from us for so long. It doesn't make any sense when we've had things that could basically cure this or basically deal with it without having to go through any kind of craziness. And then, I don't know if you saw, I guess it was Rand Paul was talking, or somebody was talking to the, I forget the guy that's the head. They had a hearing on Capitol Hill, and he was saying, why didn't you talk about that study in India where they had 241 million people, 5% vaccinated? They all gave them hydroxychloroquine and vitamin D and all this protocol, and they wiped it out.
Yeah.
So I hope people are starting to get wise to the fact that something else is going on here that's much more than this, this so-called pandemic, which is, from my point of view, is just it makes no sense. The data.
My thing is, and I've said this, like, if people want to wear masks, they can wear masks. If they don't, they don't. If they want to be vaccinated, they can be vaccinated. If not, whatever. But eventually we got to get to that point where we need to move forward. Like, we keep on kind of going back down, and we're entering year 3. So year 3, we're entering into this, and, we just kind of keep on falling back down a little bit. And it's like, well, eventually we just gotta, we gotta live. It's here. It's obviously not going anywhere. Just eventually get along with it, move
The new
on.
normal.
Yeah.
And we've had cold and flus we've lived with colds and flus for all our lives.
Yeah.
And, again, there's more to this than anybody wants to talk about. And, I took a very deep dive into this whole subject very much. And there's no data that supports everything that they're saying, right? There's no real data. There's fake data. But when you get down to the real data, there's no data that supports what's going on here. And it's just amazing to me that the people are saying this. I mean, we know masks don't work. I mean, anybody that will tell you that these masks, I put a t-shirt around my face, is actually going to stop me from having this thing is, it's sad because we now know that I can't find not one. And I'll challenge anybody in the audience, one peer-reviewed study that says those masks, putting that t-shirt around my face or my bandana or even these paper cloth masks do anything in this. Find me one. I challenge anybody out there. I can find 10 studies of serious peer-reviewed people that say they don't work. And so it's like, again, you kind of go, you got to start scratching your head and saying, what's going on? Why would we be doing this? Right.
Yeah.
There was actually, since we live in Maryland, me and Ray, we live pretty close to like Aberdeen Proving Grounds. And there was actually a guy that works at Aberdeen Proving Grounds and came out with this big report of how the masks don't work. But nobody really wanted to hear that doesn't work.
No, they get censored.
Yeah, he went on to an extensive report and showed all the different things. And
well, I'm glad to see you guys are waking up. Because that's what's got to happen. Everybody's got to start to understand.
Well, I try not to talk about it because everyone thinks I'm crazy, so I stop.
Of course. Here's the deal: is we have to start standing up for our rights. People have to stand up. Wearing these masks, places. I'm in Vegas right now. You can see I'm in this beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful! So he showed us
place, right? So last night, they're going around. People wearing masks. They're going through this stuff. So we go to this place called Zook, and it's this freaking, I think Zed, the DJ guy was there. So this place is jammed to the hill. Not a mask on. You walk out. I go into the Starbucks. Nobody's got masks on. I go up to the counter. She says, "You got to put a mask on." And I'm going, are you kidding me?
Do you know where I just came from?
And then the person sitting at
Yeah.
the table 2 feet from me because they're drinking coffee doesn't have a mask. Logic, folks. We have to start using some logic and be able to free think again. We must start to free think. This is crazy. And when you've got thousands and thousands of doctors out there right now, basically, there's a massive lawsuit going on right now. There's 10,000 doctors that are suing the FDA, the CDC, Fauci, all this stuff about this right now, because what they're doing, it makes no sense. And especially to the children. That's what scares me the most. Forcing these vaccination things on children when nobody knows. We don't know what's going to happen in 5 years.
Yeah.
How do you know? Right?
And,
And if anybody tells you they're safe, it's like, how do you know? All you got to do is use your brain, right? How do you know? Because how many times in history have we seen drugs that have come out that it took many years before we saw the side effect? Chantix is one. It took 15 years before they pulled it off because of cancer. So how do you know? And so without having the studies, the 5 years of training, all this stuff that you would do, it's just a big experiment. And especially when you're noticing everybody that's getting this Omicron, getting COVID, are people that are vaccinated.
Yeah.
So why do I vaccinate?
But what we're going to do real quick is we're going to do the intro to our show for the audio version, and then we're going to rock and roll. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Happy Hour podcast. Of course, we're already live on Facebook Live. We started our pre-show. Scott Page joined us a little bit early. He showed us that beautiful suite he's staying in. Of course, Matt's with me via Zoom. And of course, Jerry Hula from the Share Pipe podcast. He's joining us tonight as well. And Scott, man, we were talking a little bit. You're just all the years you've been in the musical industry, Pink Floyd, Toto, Supertramp, you play the saxophone, I mean, man, what are some of the craziest things that you've seen at some of the shows that you've been to? Because I'm sure you've played in front of some crazy ass crowds.
Well, let's put it this way. I've had more fun than any human being, and I'm alive to talk about it. I think it's probably the easiest way to say it. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't even know where to start. I mean, it's been, I feel so blessed to have been able to have this ride that I've been on. I mean, you will not find anyone more grateful or thankful than me for that. The people I've been able to work with, these true legends and stars and incredible, like, Gilmore he's my guru. That guy, he changed my life from a musical playing, from how I play, because he made me realize that melody is king, right? And he is the master of melody. He doesn't just play a bunch of notes that don't make, a bunch of fancy stuff that nobody can follow. That take people on a journey, right? And, just think about listening to Comfortably Numb and taking the guitar solo out. You would it wouldn't be the same song. Yeah. So, I mean, gosh, there are so many stories. I'm trying to think right off the top of my head, where can I go that I won't get in trouble?
Well, I mean, you can say whatever you want on our show. We don't care.
Well, it's not that. It's like,
so you don't get a trouble.
We have a code of ethics. We have a code of ethics in the music business. The touring musicians, we it's kind of like lawyers. Lawyers don't talk either.
Yeah.
No, I mean, oh gosh, I don't. I'm trying to think offhand. What would be a good story to tell right now? Well, one of the things. Well, I don't know if that's not a good story.
I don't know if I can tell that.
All right. Here we go. Let me buy you some time, Scott. I'll buy you some time. I'm going to fanboy and jump in because I'm a little bit older in this group, and I grew up with a lot of this music and the bands that you were with. And we'll go more recent. We'll go Toto. Love Africa, but for maybe different reasons than most people. For me, son of an English teacher, understanding language, to be able to put the line, Kilimanjaro rises like Olympus above the Serengeti, is pure lyrical genius. I mean, put one of those words in, it's got to be tough. But Kilimanjaro, Olympus, and Serengeti all in one. Oh, dude,
that's crazy. Right? That's crazy. Well, that's interesting. You look at it that way. For me, again, I've never about the lyrics, but I was always about the groove and the feel. And it's really Jeff Porcaro, right? The drummer who was my friend. I was in a kid band with him called Merciful Soul Band when we were kids. And it was David Page and Jeff. And Jeff is my music guru. So people always ask me, it's kind of a story when what happened was we had the kid band. I was a trumpet player, right? And all of a sudden, I was studying to be an architect, and I was a draftsman in this company, and in this company called Audiodyne. And I was actually the oldest guy in the band at the time. And I'm drinking coffee every day and drawing, and all of a sudden I get in this band with these guys, and I'm playing second trumpet. It was like a Blood, Sweat, and Tears Chicago style band. Nice. And all of a sudden I start going to all these gigs. We're going to these gigs and we're winning all these battle of the bands because the band's smoking, right? I'm the worst guy in the band, but boy, there were a lot of girls in the front row. So at that moment I said, you know what? I'm going to be a musician instead of this architect thing. So I flipped my whole thing. Jeff and Toto and those guys they took off. Jeff was, doing Sonny and Cher show, and he was like this guru doing nothing but dates and moving on, and then doing Steely Dan and all this stuff that went on. And I was this second trumpet player guy that now when that happened, I started studying 24/7, taking lessons, just going to town. And I was since I had a good hand because I was a draftsman, because in those days you had a pen, a pencil, some rulers, it was like hardcore. It was like drawing. So I took my skills and I became a music copyist so that I could make money, stay in the business. So I finally get this call from Toto guys like 10 years later to come play with them again. And this was always in the back of my mind. I wanted to get good enough that I could end up getting in that position again. And so actually it was more than that. It was like that was 85. So this must have been, oh my God, this is like 15 years later or something like that. So at the time, I remember getting that call and I was so scared because here I'm going to go in, these are my heroes, right? And I remember I practiced like freaking 10 hours a day. I learned every piece of music as I played guitar on some things, played sax on something, that kind of utility guy. So I practiced, I studied, I got everything going. I was really rocking, but I was so scared. I remember the night before I couldn't sleep because all I needed to go in there was fall down and it was be like, it would be below. So I go in there and I'm thinking I'm all getting ready to play. And the first thing Jeff says, he hands me the cowbell. And he said, hey, let's play a tune, right? He wants me to play cowbell. And now, like, oh, okay, because but the good news is everything is about the groove to me, man. I eat, drink, sleep, metronomes. I had one of the first 5 Lynn drum machines back in the day. So everything is about the groove, because everything is about timing and all of that. So luckily, I've been deep into the groove. Like we played I played the cowbell, right? And then afterwards he was like, okay, Paige, he came put his arm around me and we were all okay. So my entry into the gig was play cowbell on a song before we even
You were the Will Ferrell. You got the Will Ferrell initiation.
Yeah, I was thinking about Saturday Night Live,
They always ask me, well, what was the best thing about playing with Toto? And I'd always say every time playing cowbell on 4 songs with Jeff.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Nice.
His groove is so undeniable. And what was fascinating is like when you really get into studying, you realize just going is how hard that is. It's very difficult because you can lay that beat where it's like little ahead, a little behind, right in the thing, and you actually can feel the stick sink into the cowbell when you get that thing, and it's that lope, it's the dead air before it hits that you feel, right? And so I remember playing those things with him every night, man. And I was on the riser right next to him staring, and I'd stare at him, man, and we'd I was just rock it, boy, and all I remember was it was better than sex, because when you groove at that level, your attention is so focused into where the beat is, right? And it's basically a form of meditation, right? Because you don't really be thinking about a lot of other stuff when you want to really try to get into really make it happen. So yeah, no, that was my entry into Toto and stuff. And I was trying to think, I had one other story I just had in my head. Oh yeah, this is kind of interesting. So we just finished, I think it's like 197 show. We're going to do 199. I forget where we were. We just finished, I think it was in Stockholm, or I can't remember where it was exactly, but we just finished playing the show. We come in to we're in the hotel, and we're walking in the hotel, and the door opens up and there's a bride in there. So we all step into the thing with the bride, and all of a sudden she looks up, she goes, "You're Pink Floyd." She said, and he goes, "You're David Gilmour." She's like panicked. She says, "Oh, I just got married. And we're having our reception upstairs. my husband is the biggest Pink Floyd fan of the world. Do you think you would come and say hello? We said, yeah, let's go. So we all open the door. The guy opens the door, and here's Pink Floyd walking into their wedding reception.
That's awesome.
And they went bananas, and all we did was eat all their food and drink all their booze, as good as we could do.
Holy crap.
And that's actually kind of funny because at our wedding, and Matt knows this because he was one of my he was in my wedding party. I'm a huge Orioles fan. So my wife went out of the way to get the Oriole bird to come. And as soon as the Oriole bird showed up, like literally the wedding stopped and everybody went to the bird. And the bird was only there for a half an hour. So we literally had to fight everybody off with sticks just to get over to the bird to take wedding photos with the bird, because everybody was like, oh my God, the Oriole, because it's so hard to get pictures with him at the stadium that, everybody just literally rushed him like at one time or whatever. And
oh my God, Ray, I'm going to give you this is like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon thing. This is so small. Here's my college roommate was the Oriole bird.
Was he?
I mean, he wouldn't have been the Oriole bird when you got married because, there's a lot of them all. But yeah, my college roommate was the Oriole bird.
Nice.
And I could tell you some stories about the mascot life, but that's hilarious because we joked with him that he moved up the evolutionary scale, but moved back on mascot because he was a UMBC retriever, and then he went to transfer to Maryland, so he was a terrapin, and then he ended up being an Oriole bird. And we're like, you moved up in importance, but I'm not sure if down the food chain you.
That's great. And Scott,
mascot lifestyle.
Yeah.
Mascot lifestyle. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Of course, you talked about playing all these different instruments, mainly the saxophone. And me and Matt were talking a little bit on our pre-show before you came in. Matt said when he was younger, probably about 11, 12, he played the trumpet a little bit.
I'm here. I just got to plug my PC in.
I did pro wrestling for a long time, and I was like, I did that because I never really had the skills of playing an instrument. The farthest I ever made it was a recorder, one of those little recorders that
playing recorder,
had cobras come out of baskets with, and different countries and all that. And I'm sitting there in school, and they're like, oh well, blah blah blah, music class. They're like, we're going to give you a recorder. I'm like, well, what are we recording? I sit there, of course, nowadays, you sit there, you think it's well, can I plug this thing into VCR? What? And then they hand you this little, recorder. And I'm just kind of well, this is going to work out well. And, how was it playing all that? When did you know exactly hey, this is what I'm going to do, for a living,
Well, it really didn't happen until college. So my father was a musician, a very excellent studio musician. I grew up on a television show called The Lawrence Welk.
Yeah.
So I, was around music and early television for all my life, early days of my life. That's what I remember. And so my dad played 14 instruments. I was never really that interested in playing at the time, but he did one of the very first pilots videotape. It was called Music Man Take 10. So would you imagine it? It's like a big band on the road on a bus, right? It was a sitcom kind of a thing around that. And so they sent me, my dad was a clinician for the Conn Musical Instrument Company. So they sent all these instruments over to the house when they shot the show, they would all be playing Conns, right? It was that kind of a advertisement, a product placement thing. And so I saw the trumpet, I got it up, I started playing it there. And then I started getting it. And my dad said, you should play, it's good for you to, learn how to play some music. And, when you get through school, you can play in some bands, make some money, and then, all that stuff. So I took up the trumpet, which is funny because my dad was a woodwind player. He played oboe, English horn, clarinet, saxophone, flute, 14, all the woodwind instruments. And I took up brass. So I just did that, and it was sort of secondary. Again, this was not my thing. My whole life was design and architecture and drafting and drawing, and that kind of a thing was where I was really at. And it wasn't until I really made that decision to flip over was when it was in that kid band called Merciful Soul with David Page and Jeff Porcaro. And because that really got me into the music scene, because Jeff and them were they were on fire, even though they were kids at 14, 15 years old. They were like the prodigies around town because they were sons of musicians other than, Jeff's dad, Joe Porcaro, one of the great drummers, David Page's dad, Marty Page, one of the great composer, arranger, musicians. So it was all of a sudden I'm in this scene with them, and I started seeing it. And like I said, after I started realizing this is a lot more fun than sitting in that room drinking coffee all day drawing, I switched, and that was the real moment when I made the change.
Nice. And we sit there and I talk about like the little recorder and how like those guys used to make snakes come out of baskets and all that.
I love recorders. I play recorder, and Tom Scott's a wonderful recorder player. Yeah, those are great instruments.
Do you think you would be able to charm a snake like a cobra out of a basket with a recorder? And
why is this computer?
That's a good question. I don't know. I've never tried, but I guess it's possible.
Just imagine that you're playing and you're just making eye contact with it, and it's just kind of like, I kind of like this jam.
those wacky humans, they'll do all kinds of things, right?
Yeah. And of course,
go ahead.
What's that?
I know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And of course, shout out to B Claudia. She's chatting in our Facebook Live. She is coming to us from Germany. It is 1:30 a.m.
First of all, B is the best. That is one beautiful human. I love her to death. So B, hi B, good to talk to you. And I'm going to also give a big shout out to Eileen Shapiro, who is one of my favorite humans ever existed. She is the sweetest, kindest, nicest, loving person I've ever known. And it's so funny because through our relationship, I've been connecting her all up. We were best buddies all the time, right? So we'd be talking all that. So now I got her connected with Lee Sklar and Kenny Aronoff and all these guys. And now I'm not on the A list anymore. I think I'm on the C list, It's the B's and the C's. So I've moved down the list because now, she's like a therapist to all us musicians. We all talk to her all the time. It's not like once in a while we're all calling her up for some therapy.
Yeah.
Funny.
And she's been great to us. Like she's got us all kinds of guests, and we told her, we're like, hey, anybody you have, definitely send them our way, because we go from an author one week to a musician to an adult film star to whoever, a pro wrestler, it doesn't matter. Like every week we're like, hey, send whoever our way, we'll have them on, we'll have some fun. And she's great. She's been on the show herself, and Soho Johnny, Jimmy Star, they're all great.
Love Soho. Soho's another guy, one of the most kindest giving human beings I've seen. That guy will give to everybody, and just he's a great guy. All the crew around Eileen, Ron, and Jimmy, they're all just wonderful people, man. I just love them. I feel like I'm part of a really cool posse.
And B is losing her fucking mind right now in the street. Now that you said something, she's like, oh my God, she's like, oh, I'm so happy now. And then she's like, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And so yeah, shout out to B. And Scott, like, as you said, like, when was the last, you said you guys played, was it last night? You're in Vegas, like,
did a great thing. Yeah. So, I've gotten really involved in this NFT space, non-fungible tokens to people, and it's part of the crypto world. It's really, for me, it is such a big development for mankind in a sense. It really is. It represents freedom, really, truly freedom, because what it does is it sits on the blockchain like a cryptocurrency. People might know Bitcoin and, Solana and Ethereum and all those types of things. And those are what they call fungible tokens. Okay. What a non-fungible token is when you take something and a fungible token is something that is similar. It's the same. You can exchange it. $1. If I have $1, give you $1, you give me your $1, and I walk away, we still have $1. It's the same. Gotcha. Non-fungible token is when you connect the blockchain through the the mechanism to some kind of an object or digital object, and it makes it a one of a kind, but it's not exchangeable because it's one of a kind. Gotcha. And people don't realize what that means. First of all, everything will be tokenized. Everything we will be doing will have a token to it, because tokens are programmable, they're experiences, they're how we connect. And it's really almost a set of form of currency. But what it does for the artist is it completely changes the paradigm on how they get paid. Because what's wonderful about the blockchain and why the banking system, everybody doesn't like it, it cuts out the middleman. Because the computer network, or I'll call it the robot network, is really what the blockchain is, all run by AI and computers globally. There's no central location for a lot of it. Now, there are central blockchains and things, but in general, the concept is that it's decentralized. So what's great about it is it creates a perfect direct-to-consumer model, direct to you. And what I mean by that, it's wallet to wallet. There's no bank. right? If I wanted to send you $10,000 now and in Europe, I have to go to my bank. I have to make the request. They got to authenticate the transaction. Might take a couple days, right? Especially if you're over in Europe. Blockchain, this is it. It's just like the computers make sure this is a good transaction, and you can go wallet to wallet, and there's no middleman, right? It's crazy. So, and what also it has a thing called the smart contract, like on the Ethereum chain, some of the other chains that have that too. But that smart contract allows you to put all the rights, roles, and permissions and information into it, and even the royalty structure. So what's beautiful for musicians is you could, let's say if you were a musician and you created a new song and you want to mash it together with some artist or painter, and you say, I'm going to do a token, I'm going to do an NFT of this, and I'm going to sell 100 of them at $5 piece, and they're going to be rare. There's only going to be, this 100 of these things. And then you can build the royalty into them, right? So every time it gets sold, they buy it. And then if they decide to sell it, because it's on an open market, because that's what happens, every time they sell it, the artist gets his royalty back. So if it's 10%. So now you got 100 people out there selling and moving the process around, and you're getting paid every time. And what's beautiful is whoever's in the smart contract. So let's say 4 people wrote the song and it was 25%, 25, 20, 45 in the smart contract. Once it goes in there, you can't change it. You can't do anything. Every time it's sold, you just instantly get paid into your digital wallet. So it's creating a whole new economy. And it's also going to be the part that's going to be driving what we're hearing about called the metaverse, right? Because that's really this. We're moving from we have this physical world, and we also have this parallel digital world that are moving in parallel now, and they're starting to combine. So all these things that are being non-fungible tokens that are turning into digital stuff is now being applied in the metaverse, and will really drive the ability to create commerce and charge money for things. And it's fascinating. But anyway, so I'm big in this whole space. I just launched my new company called Think NFT. And Think NFT is, we've got 10 companies I'm working with right now, developing out all their drops. So we're getting ready to drop a whole bunch of tokens here to the world with all these really cool projects. And so I was in Vegas right now. I basically worked with Michael Turpin, who is he's considered the godfather of Bitcoin. He's been around long. He was telling me to buy it when it was $7. So you can see how long he's been. Right? Yeah. Anyway, he does Coin Agenda every year all over the world, basically, which is a crypto conference. And so we partnered up, and we're doing Nifty Agenda, which is only going to be the one because we changed the name to Nifty Carnival. And it's going to be a whole thing. We'll be doing a series of these, but we did an event in Las Vegas, and it was all these companies and all these Bitcoin crypto people during during CES this year. And we did it out at the Mike Tyson mansion, which is like crazy cool. And we brought my band Think X in, and we did a Floyd show in this place with all these people. And it was fantastic. We had a great time, incredible contacts and business. And, I'm telling you, anybody out there, you guys too, you're in the business, this podcast, you need to start thinking about how you're tokenizing this. Everything you do moving forward, we want to tokenize and build audience around. And, it's crazy cool. It's so exciting. I feel like I'm like 30 years old again or something. The community and the way this is thriving is just, it's explosive, and it really is going to change humanity in a big way. Because again, we got the Western Central Bank system, right? We got that whole system going on. And then you got this whole Bitcoin crypto world going on. Yeah. And Bitcoin is like a big giant sponge sitting in the sea of fiat currency, just sucking it up. And people are moving their money out of the traditional stuff and moving it into this crypto world. So in this crypto space, it's a lot harder to manipulate the gold pricing and the stock market and all those things. It's a little different. So this is a really, really exciting time for everybody. And I can't stress enough, everybody should go out there, start learning about NFTs, also learn about cryptocurrency, because they are the same. I mean, an NFT is really currency. And what I mean is I go to a lot of these NFT drops. They have them up at these mansions in Beverly Hills. And somebody said, oh man, will you come play our event? I said, sure. He says, well, how much will you charge? I said, I don't want fiat currency. I want NFTs. So if you're doing a drop, give me some NFTs and I'm happy, right? And so it's like a new form of currency, and this is great. And so everybody should learn about it because it's going to affect every business. I don't care if you own a hair salon, you're a restaurant, you're a podcast, whatever business it is. Once you understand what this means, you will see that this is the biggest change we've seen for the humans, and it puts the power back in the people's hands. That's why it's freedom, and because it takes us away from those third parties, the banking system, the Fed, all this craziness that's been messing with us for so many years. I mean, think about it. I remember gas at 35 cents, right? Yeah. Oh, how come is it $5? Same gas. It's now $5 a gallon. I mean, you kind of go, what inflated? The dollar value just kept dropping so much, and we got inflation so much that they just keep it up. And so, this is a really exciting time in that space. So I invite everyone out there, if you want to figure out how it's going to affect your business and how you can take and ride this wave, because this is right on the cusp. This is the moment in time. Go in and spend that 30 to 40 hours of deep dive into the crypto market. I would learn a lot about cryptocurrency if you don't understand how it trades and wallets, but you need to learn because you can lose everything if you don't do things right, like making sure your private keys are set, your seed phrase that you need. So you want to make sure you get educated. I'm not giving anybody any kind of advice as far as buying something. I'm just saying in general, it's really good to know. And on top of that, this non-fungible token, the NFTs, are really currency in a way. And I believe it's almost like the sleeper to drive everybody to cryptocurrency because that's how it's traded, right? And so we're about to see a massive explosion, and it's the great time for the people to take advantage. So anybody out there, if you're an entrepreneur, this is the moment in time.
I think that's fascinating, Scott, because I think what you've shown a lot of people that, on top of being this amazing musician and all the people that you've worked with, you really are a technologist, and you really understand a lot of the technology that you would think is associated with the younger generation because they grew up in it, they were surrounded by it, there's social media, etc. But, I've seen a number of things where you've talked about or articles you've written where the conversation is, this stuff pretty well, and you're trying to tell them, look, this is how you market yourself for the future. Musicians aren't selling music anymore. So the stuff you're talking about now is how they really take ownership of saying, I'm already a star, you just don't know about it. Here, let me know how to market it. And I think the technology side and the stuff that you're doing with Think EXP is just, it's really fascinating. I would love to be able to go to one of the shows because I saw some of the virtual stuff when the Rock and Talk show that you guys do, which is really cool. People should check that out on YouTube. That is a really cool musical show. But they had done some behind the scenes stuff at one of your shows. And that just sounds like an amazing, immersive, multimedia type of an event.
Yeah, those are really great. You're right. You can't sell music anymore. There's no place to sell it, right? Now, NFTs change that, right? Now we got a way to sell it. But what's so great about NFTs too is I can sell it to you and you can make money off of it too, right? That's a big fundamental change that's happening. But yeah, just going back to, technology. I've been in the tech space for quite a while. This is my fourth startup, and I've been in the I started one company with actually Bob Ezrin from Pink Floyd, producer that produced The Wall and all those great records with Floyd, one of the great producers of all time. We started a company together along with a guy named George Grayson, who ran a company called Micrographics. We started called Seventh Level. Mm-hmm. So in those days, that was when I saw for the first time clicking on an object on a screen and it made it do something. And I just realized that was the future. So I dove wholeheartedly into that space. So I've been in that company. We were able to take public. I produced all those, or co-produced along with a bunch of other guys. We did the great word adventure, reading adventure thing with Howie Mandel. Did all the Monty Python series, the Search for the Holy Grail, the Time, all those games. And then I was with Pythons for almost 18 years, building out their whole online Python line thing that they had for a long time. And so, in the technology space. And so I realized that for me, my career has really not only been the music, but since I have the understanding of the creative music side, I bridge the gap with the technical guys, the engineers, because that's a really tricky thing. Because, as artists, we go like this, let's try that. Let's try that. Let's experiment here. Well, let's give it this try. In the computer world, they hate that because the engineers go, it's either on or it's off. You tell me exactly what you want it to be. There's no gray area. It's either yes or no. one or the other, right? And so I had to learn how to bridge that gap because I became more proficient in understanding of technology. And I don't write any code. I don't really have any understanding of that, but I've been around, and all my companies have had engineers, and I work with them. And so I know how to talk the language, and I know the questions to ask. But yeah, that's my whole thing has been around that, has been kind of combining those things. And when you talk about, again, going back to the experience part of it, yeah, I realized you couldn't sell music back then. What can you sell as an artist is the experience and the lifestyle, right?
Mhm.
That's why I think experience came about, so that we could really dive into the immersive entertainment space. And now with the whole NFT coming in, so it's the live immersive space tied to NFTs that then allow you to also stream all this stuff into the metaverse. So there's a whole new world that's opening up. And like for artists, there's never been a time like this. I mean, there's so much money being made for artists. They're finally getting their due. It's finally a way to, make it happen, right? For you, it's because we've gotten screwed for so many years, right? And, and you look at the streaming money. I mean, that's where money's made. You can't sell music, but you have to be streaming. But when you have a platforms that are like, where it's like for every million streams, it's roughly $4,000 to $5,000, a million streams, right? And you say, okay, well, let's see, what's the numbers on Spotify and these channels of acts that even hit a million streams? It's like 95, 97% have never even hit a million streams. So the only money's being made by the top tier. They have record labels own all of these networks. They own the playlist. So it's kind of like the same model. And that's why it completely blow it up. They completely blow it up because I don't need you anymore. I don't need you to do any transactions for me. I don't have to go to you to say, I don't feel like I got my royalties. Let me audit the books. I don't have to do that anymore because the blockchain and the smart contracts does it all for me. And I'm done. I go sell my thing. I get paid instantly. If you go sell that thing of mine, I get paid again. So it's just real simple. It's the perfect model. And it goes down to this where, it's not about massive audience anymore. It's about groups, or what I call hives. And I always say, if you want to survive today, you have to build a hive, right? And that hive is your community, your group. And what's so beautiful about it, it doesn't take that many people to make a really strong living and make this happen. So my whole thing is I teach everybody to go small. Forget about going big. Go small. Figure out first of all, there's this thing called 1,000 True Fans that Kevin Kelly from Wired Magazine coined, I don't know, probably 10, 15 years ago. And it was 1,000 True Fans when they saw these models coming was is someone to spend $100 a year on you. You have 1,000 people, 1,000 a year, there's $100,000 in revenue, right? Mm-hmm. So I even take it, I even go the other direction. I say, get the first 100 people, build a repeatable model, and then you can scale from that. My friend, who is a wonderful singer, she's been on the Warped Tour. She's great. She created her own little clothing line and everything. She basically says she has about 125 fans that support her enough that she can live off of every year. She's built that relationship. They buy her merchandise. They come to her shows. She does her stuff, and it doesn't take that many. So for artists, you got, okay, let's get that first 125, 100, and then let's get up to 500, and then 1,000. If you get up to 5,000, you're getting, $7 average a month out of the time a year, which is not that much if you create the right experience. You're generating $500,000 a year, 5,000 people, not millions, and all that stuff. So I teach a thing called SPACE, which stands for Story, Plan, Army, Conversion, Education, and it's basically the framework for what I'm talking about. Everything starts with the story. You have to have a great story. And your story isn't like, oh, I'm a guitar player from Cincinnati and I grew up on a farm, blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares about that story. That's not what I'm talking about. It's like, what do you stand for? What problem are you solving? Because that's what you do. To create a rally cry, to get people around, you got to have something to create a commercial movement, you got to create a rally cry. Well, how do you do that? Is by having something people care about, right? So building that story first, because remember this, what you stand for is more important than what you sell. That's right. That's the most important thing you can do, right? So, the whole idea is the story. Then once you have that story and you figure that out, then the plan I use lean startup principles, which is a way that they build companies in Silicon Valley now. And there's a thing called the lean canvas, which is a one-page business plan, right? And that one page, you can Google it at, I think it's on leanstack.com. And I recommend this to anybody that's an entrepreneur, want to do a business, create a product. It is really the formula, and it's one-page business plan is 9 questions, and you have to answer those 9 questions. And the beautiful part about it, it's iterative. You go in there, and the goal is, in 20 minutes, you have to fill out the first 9. You have to fill it out, and then from there, you reiterate through it. Because what it does is it really starts to formulate a few things. Number one, you have to test and validate everything first, because you don't want to throw resources on it until you test and validate. So the goal is you want to fail fast. You want to fail as fast as you can, because if you're going to fail, you want to fail fast. Otherwise, you're wasting a lot of time going in the wrong direction. So the idea is, while you're testing and validating, until you get something that gives you a strong signal, I'm going down the right path, this is the right strategy, then you pour gas on it, you go after it. What's so beautiful about the lean canvas, it's not only going to help you figure out what you're going to do, it's going to tell you what you're not going to do.
Okay.
Which is more important, because we all go out and say, oh, I'll build it, and they will come. And that's like a disaster when you're a small company, you have small resources, and you got to go. So it's a whole methodology. So I really recommend that. Reading a book called Running Lean. Running Lean is a great book. It's a book about, the book is about this model I'm talking about of lean canvas and all that. But Running Lean, it's the book, and it's how he took the book that you're reading and made it a #1 bestseller by using the methodologies of the lean canvas and lean startup principles, right? So it's a really good book. It'll help any entrepreneurs out there. And I think I try to teach every artist, no, is this a business or a hobby?
Yeah.
Right. If it's a business, then you have to treat it like a business. You got to be an entrepreneur, and your fans are not just fans, they're customers, right? Because otherwise, if you're not making money, it's a hobby. Hobbies are great. Don't get me wrong. You can go, I'm not doubting, but you have to make that decision like in your thing. And if it is, then you need to start learning some processes. So going through space, story, plan is using lean canvas, all that stuff. And then the A stands for Army. And what I mean by the Army, it's your super fans. It's the super fans and the closest people around you, because we know the super fan, based on data, because we have data now, which you never had before, that allows us to compete with everybody, is that that the super fan will generate about 60% of your revenue. So your smallest group, so let's say you had 100,000 followers on Twitter, it's really that 1 to 2%, 1,000 to 1,500 to 2,000 people that really matter, because they're the ones that care enough. That's where the super fan lives. You want to convert them first, and then you can start expanding your way out. But that's how you get the revenue fast. And then you also, your Army is your closest relationships to the who surrounds you, because you can use all those influencers. It's influencer networks. And my whole model is based on influencing the influencers first. That's the first thing, because you want everybody talking about you that has influence, because you don't want to be saying how cool you are. You want to say, hey, this guy's really cool. And that person happens to be somebody that's really cool, so that his coolness rubs off on you, right? So it's that influence thing. So we go through the Army exercise. Then the C is conversion. And what I mean by that is how do I get people from the first time I meet them, run them through what they call funnels, conversion funnels, to get them to the point to where you either sell them or get them to sign up the list or whatever you're offering at that time. So understanding conversion funnels, which you can all just Google and start looking at them, how they work, and understanding how the touch points and the strategies of it. And then the last one is E, which is education, because everything I just told you about, unless you get educated, you ain't going to be able to do it. It's really simple. So you have to go to school, and you got to go to school every day. You get up every day. I get up every day. I'm reading blog posts. I'm listening to stuff. I'm constantly learning all the time, especially now in this non-fungible space, this non-NFT space. So it's really about just getting yourself educated. And so there you go. I went off on a tangent. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Actually, Scott, how are you looking at time-wise? Would you be okay over a little bit? Like, I think it's almost 5 o'clock your time, I believe. Would you be okay if we go a little bit over 5?
I can go a little bit over. I got to get back because I got to drive back to Los Angeles.
Okay.
I got to get soon. But yeah, I got another 5-10 minutes.
All right, cool. What we'll do is real quick, we'll get into our featured drinks, and then we'll get into our games, and then we'll let you get out of here. So, because our Ode to Humanity segment is always fun. So,
What's happening?
we're going to get into our featured beer, which Jerry, you may know who these guys are. Of course, Lancaster Brewing Company. This is the last week that we are featuring them. Double chocolate milk stout. Make sure you go out, pick up some double chocolate milk stout. And what's up, Scott? What you got for us?
I love you for this, right? Because this is one of the things I tell people, right? You have this opportunity because you're in a two-way relationship. This is a real-time two-way, right?
Yeah.
This is revolutionizing everything. So by bringing that sponsor in, I mean, one thing you could add, because we have delivery service, you could have delivered that to me. So I'm your guest. And then you would say, hey, we're going to open this up on the thing, right? Right. And now we're testing it with your guests for the first time. That's a big part of my whole living thing, is the idea of a live show a live event tied to real-time streaming. How do I bring fan into the live stream? And then the third is being able to use delivery service to be able to give it up. So I had to tell you that, because get those sponsors, because then it's a great way to bring the sponsors in, create some fun stuff to do. And you could actually do a thing where you could ship it out to people all before the show and do a tasting.
Nice. Yeah. You know, I didn't think about that. And the hard part is, though, is we have so many guests trying to get all that out, and especially the way the mail is and all that, you know,
It's
but
special. You don't have to do it all the time, right?
Special.
Right? You pay for it. You make it a special event. The sponsors will love it,
yeah.
right? And people will love it. And it's a win-win all the way around.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, Ray. I'll try to help you out. I think we can.
Okay.
I know where Scott's coming from. We'll work it out.
Okay. Yeah, Jerry, definitely let me know. What we're going to do, we're going to get into our Ode to Humanity segment. So we're going to play some games. So some of the games you may have heard of before, some of them you may not have. We're going to start off with, what do you meme? So pretty much, you know what a meme is, Scott?
A meme, yeah.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold up a photo, and I want you to meme that photo. So can you see that? Okay. That's the photo right there for everybody listening at home. It's a little alien guy wearing sunglasses holding this little iPhone. What would you meme that photo as?
Let me think about it a second. I would meme that. Stop looking down, look up.
I would say when you realize that you invested your money in Bitcoin and it ended up being a good decision. And then what we're going to do, we're going to move on to our game called Incoherent. So pretty much I'm going to hold up a series of cards. They're going to be in drunken lingo. I need you to try to sound them out and try to figure out what the card says. And there's a couple of hints on the back. So this is the first one right here. What do you think that card says?
Pair girl. I don't know.
The first hint is on to the next.
Is what?
The first hint is on to the next.
I got it.
What do you think, Jer?
I'm thinking Parbar. I'm thinking like Parbar art.
You're close. The next is binge drinking, but in an organized fashion.
Wow.
Oh.
Party girl.
Ooh.
It is bar crawl. So it was,
Oh.
yeah. And then this is the next one. So what would you say that says?
That seems like Baltimore-ese right there. Hey, dear fun.
Hey there, con man. I don't know.
It says critics criticize for one of the hints.
You're killing me here. I'm done.
When a
Wow.
homegirl is ranting on her latest Facebook post, and you got to show her some support.
I don't know.
Haters gonna hate. So is
Oh.
haters going to hate? And then the last one. Let's see if we can get this one right here. What do you think that says?
Boy, Felicious. I don't know.
Oh, you're close. You're close.
Oh,
You're close. It says adios, amiga. And then a friendly farewell, usually accompanied by a limp-wristed, finger-twinkling wave. Bye, Felicia. It is
Oh,
bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. All about
you
that.
got
Yeah. And then what we're going to do is, of course, this segment's called Ode to Humanity. So we always play Cards Against Humanity. Scott, are you familiar with Cards Against Humanity?
I know of it. I've never played it, so I really don't know anything about it other than
So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a subject card. And then
Okay.
what we have our guests do is we have our guests randomly choose the answer. So you're going to get a subject card, and then you're going to have between 1 and 5 to answer that card. And whatever you choose, it's going to answer that. If you don't like it, you get a second choice.
Wait. Say that one more time. I'm lost. You just lost me.
So I'm going to read off a card.
Okay.
And then I'm going to give you a number. Let's say it's going to be 1 through 5. You're going to choose one of those numbers, and that's going to randomly answer that card. If you don't like that answer, you get to pick a second one. So the first one is, how am I compensating for my tiny penis? So that's the first one. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So random number 1 to 5 to answer that card.
3.
3. All right. Let's see. 3. All right. How am I compensating for my tiny penis? No clothes on, penis in vagina. Are you satisfied with that, or do you want to choose another card?
Go another one.
All right. What do you want? What number?
Let's go with 5.
5. All right. So 5. All right. How am I compensating for my tiny penis? Pass blue ribbon. And then some of the others were too much cocaine, a spontaneous conga line, or Ryan Gosling riding on a white horse. Now, the second one, you and Jerry are going to work together. The second one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it has 2 answers. So the second one is, for my next trick, I will pull blank out of blank. So Scott, I'll let you pick the first number. Jerry, you can pick the second number, and we'll see what we come up with.
I'm going to go with 2.
2? All right. So 2. And what do you say, Jerry?
We'll go 5.
5. All right. So 2 and 5. So
We got a winner.
for my next trick, I will pull the Boy Scouts of America out of jizz. Are you guys satisfied with that, or do any of you guys want to change yours, or do both of you want to change yours?
Wow. Jay.
All right. What do you say, Scott? What other number do you want?
Let's go 3.
3. All right. So 3. And what about you, Jerry?
What was my answer? What was 5?
Yours was jizz.
I don't know. It's getting a lot of laughter. I think I let it roll, and I see what Scott gives me.
Okay, cool. So the new one is, for my next trick, I will pull a cooler full of organs out of jizz. And some of the other choices were all these decorative pillows, man meat, and a bleached asshole. So those were some of the other options. And
Nice.
Scott,
Nice friendly game. Nice fun to people. Yeah.
and that's our Ode to Humanity segment. And Scott, real quick, what I was thinking of is, when you were describing some of the stuff with the NFTs, is that recently, and my wife, she's a she's a huge Swiftie. She loves Taylor Swift. And recently Taylor has just went through all that stuff with her old manager would not let her have
Records.
her music. So she was pretty much like, fuck you, and went through and re-recorded all of her songs, did extended cuts. And the people that he sold her albums to pretty much got screwed so bad, because he's like, she would never be able to outdraw pretty much what she did before. And now she's made millions, hundreds of millions of dollars off of those new albums. And that's what I was thinking about. So do the NFTs pretty much kind of take it out of, if you guys have a little bit of a dispute with your agents or, a record company, that it comes right to you guys instead of having that middleman, the
middle robot now. It's a smart contract. So everything gets figured out. There's no the gray area goes away, right? Because whatever's in that contract's in the contract. Now, that doesn't mean you can't dispute the contract later and say, oh, I didn't want to do that or whatever. But the contract's the contract, and the blockchain tells it, because you can't change that contract. Whatever was in there is that. And so it does. It actually helps a lot in those types of things. And I guess, you're about to see some of the most insane lawyers are going to get rich on this one.
Oh,
This
yeah.
whole thing, because there's so many gray areas. It's still wild west on who owns what you can do, can't do. And so, there are things, there are parts. I'm not going to say 100% it's going to get away with that, but that's the beauty of getting the smart contract right in the beginning. Everybody, meeting of the minds are there, makes people pay attention to their contracts, because if you didn't pay attention, then you messed up. So I think it's going to help solve a lot of those problems.
Awesome. And Scott, what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and let you get ready to get out of here. Jerry, you got anything for Scott?
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. I was just,
no
I
problem,
was fanboying out and couldn't sleep last night thinking about being on with Scott. I was just like, oh my gosh, Scott Page is going to be on. So very, very cool of you to spend some time with us from out there in Vegas. And I like it. You've been walking around and we've been seeing a nice Vegas landscape behind you.
There you go. Here, I'll give a little shout so those people didn't see earlier. Yeah, so I'm on this. So those people who weren't in the pre-show, I'm on this 50th floor. A company I work with, they said, "Oh, we have this suite. You can use it. You know, just use it." I came to this place, and if you can see here, like I showed everybody, look at the size of this place. Look at that's the hallway.
Huge.
Down there. That's the dang hallway to get into the living room of this place with all these places. But I have this really super cool view here of Vegas, and you can see it's starting to come on there. And look at there's Paris.
Oh, nice.
Paris down there, and later on that water thing over there, the dancing waters will be happening, and it's really crazy just looking out.
Bellagio.
Awesome.
Plane flying over there.
Scott, when's your next Think EXP experience? Like you guys are constantly developing new experiences. What's the next one, or what's the next few shows you're going to have?
Well, we have a variety of things. Like so with Think NFT, my company, along with ThinkX, the band and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to be at Sundance, but it looks like we got canceled. Thank you, Mr. COVID guy, making it crazy with all this pandemic. And then we'll be at Sundance, and then we're going to be doing NFT LA, which I'm producing in March, co-producing with my friends over at Edge of NFT, and a group of us are putting together. And then we have dome shows in between. So our next dome show in LA is going to be the 21st and 22nd of January. So those in LA, I dropped my phone. For those of you in LA, definitely come check it out, because the dome shows are cool. We're in a 360-degree dome. It's like you're in a shared VR experience. And we're doing my company's Think Experience. We're doing a Think Floyd experience. So we're doing a Think Floyd experience. Nice. And we do that. And that's with Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction, and Nord Fisher from Fishbone, Kenny Olson from Kid Rock's band, Roberta Freeman, who was on Floyd with me. And so it's
all your buddies from the Rock and Talk Show, right? Like you got all your Rock and Talk Show buddies on.
Well, that's ThinkX. That band is ThinkX. And Sheila's our manager. She's on the show. And David Moss, we work with him, and we're in the middle of we work with him and Flea and Norwood. They have this. We're building the Watts Conservatory of Music in Los Angeles, and so that's our little group for that. And here we are.
Awesome.
And Scott, where can everybody find you online in case they want to see all your stuff or reach out to you, say hello, and all that fun stuff?
Everything we do is my numbers. It's I am Scott Page. I am Scott Page. And you can just type that in and use it, or you can just search if you want to look at anything. See some of our dome shows. It's Think EXP. Just type in Think EXP and you'll get those. And then soon you'll be seeing Think NFT, which is about to go up. And we're going to blow it up in the NFT space.
And of course, next week, we will be back right here on Facebook Live. And for everybody listening to us on every major podcast platform, we will be back next week. Our featured guest will be adult film star, AVN Hall of Famer, Alexis Amore. She will be joining us live on the show next week. And Scott, once again, thank you for joining us. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the show momentarily. Would you just be able to do a plug for us real quick and just say, hey, this is Scott Page and you're listening to the Happy Hour podcast?
Yes.
Awesome.
Ready?
Yep.
This is Scott Page, and I got to tell you, this is one of the coolest podcasts you'll ever know. This is what is it again?
Happy Hour podcast.
Happy Hour podcast. I forgot. Anyway, this is a really cool podcast. Hey, man, I'm really thankful to it. But anyway, this is Scott Page, and you're listening to and check out the Happy Hour podcast. It is one of the coolest podcasts I've been on. I love you guys. It's really been fun.
Awesome, Scott.
Thanks,
we really
Scott.
appreciate it, man. I definitely want to get in more with talking about the NFT stuff and, especially the COVID stuff, even if that's just kind of like, personal messages back and forth or emails or whatever and all that, because I hear you on a lot of that kind of stuff. But yeah, man, definitely stay in touch. Anytime you're in Baltimore, let us know, man, and shoot me your address. I'll shoot you a shirt out for a thank you for being on the show. So
no problem. Yeah, Eileen, she because I'm so ADD, I can't get anything. All that stuff. My friend Eileen, I love you. So you can give you all my information for sure.
All right, cool. Thanks,
And
Scott. This is
Want to
gonna
do this again, man? I'll come on. We can talk about anything. I love doing it. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me on your show. Really appreciate
No
it.
problem, Scott. Thank you. We appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and conclude right here on Facebook Live. Everybody that joined us on the pre-show, joining us now, including B joining us from Germany. That's awesome. Up so early in the morning, joining us live. Thank you for tuning into the Happy Hour podcast. We will see you guys next